Hello everyone. Welcome to GIS 2020 Geospatial Tech. This is a topics course, and the topic this semester is Introduction to Open Source GIS. I'll be your instructor, Kurt Menke. I've been teaching in the CNM program for 10 years or so, and I've been teaching this class the entire time. So I'm excited to have you all in here. And it'll be a little different than what you've been exposed to so far. We're going to focus on open source geospatial tech. I'm going to start out by introducing myself. I run my own GIS consulting business here in Albuquerque called Eye View GIS. So I'm a part-time instructor. And I provide all kinds of services. I do some cartography, some spatial analysis and modeling, and some online web mapping. I also do a lot of training. I'm a QGIS certified instructor, which I'll tell you about more this semester. I teach full semester courses such as this one, and I also teach a lot of professional workshops and custom training for organizations. I've written 2 QGIS books. I hoped to have these as textbooks during the semester, especially the one on the left, Discover QGIS, which is a workbook designed for the classroom. Unfortunately, the book is a little out of date at this point and needs to be updated, and I hope to have it updated actually by the end of our semester. The one on the right, Mastering QGIS, is a little more advanced. It's kind of for GIS professionals who are wondering how they can do certain tasks that they've done in other software, perhaps ArcGIS and QGIS. They're both still available on Amazon and are great resources, but as I mentioned, they're getting a little bit out of date. So this course is going to be a course on how to use free and open source GIS software. So it's going to be a little bit more about how to use this kind of software than it is about learning new GIS concepts. The exception will be web mapping. I still believe this is the only place in the program that this is covered. We're going to talk about setting up data to be streamed across the internet as services, and also how to stand up a simple map viewer. And you're going to learn a lot about what it means to be free and open source, especially this first week of the class. So an outline, and this is subject to change. I will probably change things from the syllabus a little bit and tinker with it as we move along. But we're going to start out with this week, what is open source? What is free software? And this other term you may or may not have heard of, FOSS4G. We're going to, along the way, learn some desktop applications. We're going to learn QGIS. That's what we're going to focus on most heavily over the semester. We're also going to look at some spatial databases, namely PostGIS and SpatialLite. And we'll look at some other geospatial libraries, especially this one called Goodle and Ogre, or some people say GDAL and OGR. You can pronounce it however you'd like. We'll have a midterm after we've covered those things. After the midterm, we'll get into more QGIS details. And then we'll migrate into working with web applications, namely the Google Maps API, a software called Carto, and how to work with what are known as OGC services, the Open Geospatial Consortium services. And we'll wrap up the semester with a quiz on what we've covered in the second half of the semester, which will be mainly web mapping. The materials for the course are all up on CNM Learn in the course shell, and there'll be 1 module per week. Since this is a hybrid class, every Tuesday we'll meet face-to-face. Thursdays will be a virtual period where I'll have office hours online, and I'll be available from 2 to 5 during the normal course hours. On Thursdays, if you have questions or things like that that you need to cover, I'll be available during those times. And I'll also be available as needed. I'll be providing you my contact information, so you can always text me, email me, and call me and ask questions about issues that come up during the semester. As I mentioned, I initially thought this would be the textbook. We're not going to be using this, although I still think it would be a great resource. The reason we're not using it is because the interface to QGIS has changed a little bit with this latest version, and so the screenshots won't entirely match up. However, everything in this book, if you did buy it, will still work in QGIS 3. There's nothing that won't work. You'll just have to navigate some changes in the graphical user interface. But I will be providing other readings throughout the semester. We're going to do several readings, especially during the first half of the semester. And so I'll provide those as PDFs as we go through the semester. So you won't have to purchase anything for reading material. The course software is available in the CAD lab and in the classroom, but you can also install this on your own machines. Since this is all open source software, it's freely available to install. And the nice thing about most of the software we're going to talk about is that you can install it on Windows, Mac, Linux, any operating system you have. And I'll be writing installation instructions for QGIS on CNM Learn on the course shell. This is how the grading for the course will break out. I'm going to weight the labs the heaviest at 45%. We'll have a lab per week, roughly. The midterm will be 25% of your grade. The final quiz, 15%. And then just participation, which will be turning in reading assignments, participating on online discussions, and attendance will be 15%. So that's a course overview. You should get through this week everything that's in the first week module.